Hold on a minute, Gina. I've got to do it again.
Okay.
Welcome to the Life After 50 show. We had a little bit of a technical glitch there at the beginning, so sorry if it looked a little bit wonky, but we are here. I'm Catherine Watson, your host of the Life After 50 show, and I'm here today with Gina Powell, and we'll get to Gina in just a moment. But I want to talk to you about our sponsor, Find Houston Senior Care. Find Houston Senior Care is a web directory where people can go to find anything they want in the world of senior care. We have over 500 blog articles. We have listings for home care companies like Gina's that can help you make that transition and move, and many, many more. We've got care homes and elder law attorneys and just a world of information in the greater Houston area. So if you live anywhere in the greater Houston area, you need to check out findhoustonseniorcare.com, and that's FIND, HoustonSeniorCare.com. And I'm spelling that out, Gina, because we're going to have this on a podcast at a later date. So I am here today with Gina Powell. She's with Caring Transitions. And we're going to be talking about decluttering. You can do it. And I'm in the middle of doing this myself after 40-something years of marriage. I have accumulated a lot of stuff. I haven't lived in the same house for that 40 years, but I think that we've been in this one for about 16, and it's amazing. My sister and I were talking yesterday about the fact that you can put one thing in the closet, and then when you reopen the door, there's 10. Yep. It just multiplies, Gina, right?
Yes, it does.
So, Gina, tell us about your company, Caring Transitions, and I'm going to pop the website up for people on there, and a little bit about yourself and how you got into this business.
Well, thanks for having me. Yes, we are Caring Transitions. There are actually 4 other offices in the Houston area. But we are Caring Transitions of Metro Houston, and we service the middle of Houston pretty much and down south. Caring Transitions is actually a company that is considered a senior move manager. And what that means we do is we help people when they need to declutter or organize or move into a senior community. And we do that by helping them with their downsizing, which is a lot of organization. We help them with space planning, and that's really going to be important to let them know what they're going to be able to take. We then can help them once we get them packed and moved and unpacked. We can help them liquidate whatever estate they have, and that may be in a couple of different ways, but that's basically what we do.
And Gina, I sure wish I would have known about this field years ago when I was taking care of my mom and my mother-in-law. My mother passed away, and 2 months later, I had to move my mother-in-law, who had lived in her home for 60 years. So you can about imagine. And she was in the hospital because she had broken her hip. So she was no help. It was quite a challenge. And to have somebody, a professional who knows what to do and how to do it, come in and guide you through that process would just be amazing. And I think so many people out there don't even know that you exist. And in fact, senior move managers, there is a national organization, correct? For senior move managers. And they take a lot of classes. They do a lot of training. It's not something you just pick up one day and decide you're going to do this. There's a lot of learning that goes into this because moving is not easy. And there's a lot of moving parts in moving, right?
Yes. And since we work with seniors, it's actually, we do have several classes. I am CRTS certified, which means I'm a certified transition and relocation specialist. And A lot of the classes we took were actually geared more towards dealing with some cognitive issues, because a lot of times my clients do have cognitive issues. So we are prepared to deal with folks who have, some confusion, who might have just the frustration. It can be very frustrating to move after all that time. And the biggest thing I see that happens with the group is they just get overwhelmed.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
they don't move forward because they're just so overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Overwhelmed, in fear, that change is hard for people. And as you get older, it becomes
Harder.
more difficult for people. And I think I was telling you before the show, my sister is in her late 70s, almost 80. She doesn't have a husband anymore to help with this. So it's doubly as hard, I think, for somebody who's found themselves single and they're trying to do it themselves and they just don't know where to begin. And that's where somebody like you can really come in and help them and walk them through that process. And I think that's just amazing. I love that you can do that. So right now, a lot of people may not be ready to move because of the situation with COVID-19, but this is the ideal time to start getting your ducks in a row.
Yes.
Go ahead and get Gina in there to help you get decluttered and start that process, because it'll make it so much easier down the road when and if you decide to move. And if you don't decide to move, guess what? You got a nice,
it's clean and organized.
Yes, it's organized, and you know where things are, and that's amazing. Mm-hmm. So, Gina, let's talk about what are the steps to follow when planning to relocate to a senior community. So, say my mom is planning to move, but of course, COVID has sidelined her right now. But maybe she's thinking next spring things might be better, and she's hoping that she can move at that time. What steps would we take right now?
Okay, well, the first thing is to make a plan. You have to get organized and make a plan. And sometimes the very beginning of that is to start looking at the communities you might be interested in. I know that's a little harder now than normal, but the first step is to make a plan, and we actually look at it as bite-sized plans. So many small organizable steps. I find clients all the time who think, I can clear out my house. It's not that big a deal. The problem is they get completely overwhelmed and they never move forward. So you've got to have a plan. Really important is you need to determine the amount of space you need to live in, because everyone who goes into a senior community is downsizing. Some more than others, but generally I find most people are downsizing by a good 2/3 of their house. So if you have a 3,000 square foot house now and you are moving into, say, 800 or 900, which is still a nice sized senior community apartment, you're still downsizing by about 70%. So that's going to give you a number. If you're downsizing by 70%, that's telling you that's about what you're going to need to start looking to find new homes for your stuff. If you are lucky enough to already know where you're going, and if you're really lucky and have your space plan, that is very helpful, because you're going to have to downsize, right? So then the easiest way to do that is to know where you're going, if you're lucky. And what I do is I actually take the space plan the client's moving into and digitize it. So we put it on the computer. We then start walking around their house and we talk about, and this is something you can kind of do with yourself. The things we need to keep are the things that you really love. And especially if you're dealing with somebody with some cognitive issues, we need to keep what we call touchstones. So the things that keep them present, the picture of the family, it's different for everybody. But the things that keep them present, we need to make sure get moved with them, because that's going to help them when they move. They'll assimilate more quickly and they'll be more comfortable. So you need to do the things you love. Then you're looking at the things that actually you need. You need a bed. You may or may not need a dining table. You need a recliner or something to sit in outside of the bed. So
Maybe you don't need that king size bed anymore. If there's just one of you now, maybe you're not going to take the king size bed, but you're going to size down.
yes, and one thing I talk to people a lot, if you are changing your bed and you don't have an adjustable bed, this is the time to get an adjustable bed. They are so much easier, especially to help people that need it to get out of the bed. You can raise the feet, you can raise the head, it can help with edema. I mean, so if you're already redoing your bed, this is a time to think about that. So really, you're just looking at all the things that really matter to you, the things you need, and then any extra space or things you want. The catch here is to actually measure every piece of furniture, and we measure it, we put it on the floor plan, and that really does help you because you know how much space you have, and you may love 3 tables. Well, I can tell you, you've got 36 inches, and you can pick which one of those tables you would like to keep, but we can't take more than can fit in there comfortably. So this gives the client the ability to make the decisions, but they are definitely being forced to deal with the actual physical space they're going to have. So,
that brought up a good point for me, Gina. You said it gives them the ability to make the decisions, and that's the key right there. We need to do this while we still can make those decisions. When my mother-in-law fell and broke her hip, we had to go in there and do it for her. And guess what? I got rid of some things that she really would have liked to have. And I felt so bad. But I did the best I could. But if you don't want that to happen to you, if you want to make sure that you get to your new place with the things you want, do it while you can. Bring Gina or somebody in to help you if you need to. But do it while you can. Start making those decisions now.
And that's what we tell clients too. It's either you can make the decisions now or someone will make them for you later. And they may very well not be the decisions you would have made.
I guarantee you they won't all be the decisions you would have liked to have made. Yeah.
So if you take control of it while you're still capable of it, then yes, you will be a lot happier with the outcome, and the things that really mean something to you will get moved with you.
Exactly.
So, and once you do your space planning, the rest of the steps are quickly just purging. You're going to have to go through that house and purge. You're going to pack and move, and then you're going to resettle. So those are really just kind of the steps you're going to go through, and there's a lot within each one of those.
Yeah. So how do I decide what to take with me and what to leave, what to let go of?
Well, there's ways to do that. Like we talked about, first thing is really what's important to you. So you need to make those decisions. You need to walk around the house. If there's a piece of furniture that you cannot live without, or scrapbooks or pictures, those are the first things you need to take with you. But in terms of just practical considerations, the things you're going to need to typically look at bringing are your furnishings, your basic home decor, but it's going to be downsized. Clothes, but I say this is your opportunity to clean out your closet. I don't think I've ever been in a lady's closet who didn't have probably a minimum of 4 different sizes of clothes. And a lot of them don't fit anymore. Especially as we get older, we tend to get smaller. And so I have ladies who might still have a 16 in their closet and they're wearing a small. So, this is the time to get rid of anything that's not in good shape, because you're going to probably have more limited space than you had before. So you want to take clothes that you're going to actually wear and enjoy. I do tell people, if you're going into a senior community, don't get rid of everything that's formal. I do say usually bring a couple of nicer formal outfits, because a lot of communities have Christmas parties and different parties where you still can dress up, but you need a very limited amount of that. So for clothes, this is your chance to clean out your closet and only bring things in good shape that still fit. Kitchen, you're going to bring basics. I find most people do not continue to do a lot of cooking. So simple pots and pans, if this might be the time to buy just a nice new simple set, but not probably going to ever use the bread maker and the yogurt maker and all those things we've all collected over the years. These are not things that you're going to have space for, and you really won't use them. The food in communities is generally really, really good. So you won't find yourself doing a lot of kitchen cooking. Again, things you love, your touchstones, your memorabilia. remember the electronics, but if you use them regularly. So if you use a laptop, that's great. Bring it. If you have an old CPU sitting down in the office that you're not used, don't bring it with you. Have the hard drive removed and destroyed. Get rid of it. So those are the kind of basic things you would want to bring. I'd say the things you don't really need to bring with you and think about it. If you haven't used something in your house in the last 6 months or a year, I wouldn't bring it. You really aren't using that. And you have to think about things have to justify the amount of space they're going to take up. And so if you're using it, I see this with decorations. Some ladies have them for every season, for every holiday, boxes and boxes. Make us a single box of all your decorations. And of course, you won't need things like any outdoor tools. Anything that has to do with outdoor, your garage will largely be done away with.
Yeah. So what do I do with those things that I don't want to keep?
Got a couple of options. Depends on what they are, but generally, if you're not going to keep it, you can. First thing I say is if it's something, especially if it's something that means something to you, and you just don't have space for it, see if maybe friends or family would like it. A lot of times, kids and friends can use things. If you're doing that, I do definitely suggest you give them a specific time frame. If they want the dining table, say, that's great, I'm so happy you can use it, but you need to pick it up within a month or whatever your time frame is, because people will tend to leave it there. And you need to keep moving. So.
Yeah, and as you move these things out, it kind of feels good and it kind of turns you on. I know when I first, do the first closet and cleaned it out, wow, it felt great. And it made me want to go on to the next one. And I think that's helpful to start seeing that stuff moving out. And, I've had a lot of friends because I'm in my mid-60s and I have a lot of friends that have downsized and moved away to smaller homes and such. And they got rid of tons of stuff.
Yeah.
And in fact, one of my friends got rid of almost everything before she moved. And I've asked her and she said, I haven't really missed anything. She said, I have not missed it. It's gone. And so it's amazing. We think we're going to really miss these things. And then, you pack them away and you don't even remember that you had them.
Well, yeah. And I actually use that example with people who have storage rooms. I get calls for people who are trying to clean it, who have storage rooms and may want them cleaned out. And generally, if you have lived without those things in that storage room for quite a period of time, you need to just go ahead and get rid of them. And you can, like I said, you can give them friends and family. You can have an estate sale. You can have an online auction, and we can help with all of those. Also, donations to charity. So there are several things to do with them. Just kind of depends on what you're comfortable with.
Right. Yeah.
But
there's a lot of different options.
Well, to kind of go back and touch on what you were saying with the closet, one thing I find people do get overwhelmed, and the first thing I say is pick a room, pick a space. It could be a closet with whatever your worst pain point is. If your guest room drives you insane, great, start in your guest room. And give yourself a time limit. Say, I'm going to start maybe in the closet in my guest room. I'm going to give myself 30 minutes, and I will start on even the left-hand side and organizing, going through things that you haven't been using, that are in ill repair, that you think maybe someone else can use. Maybe you put different piles. I'm going to keep this. I'm going to give this. My son will use this. This is something for charity or a sale. So go through and give yourself a certain amount of time. When you're done, celebrate that you got through your 30 minutes. And once you start doing this, though, you will find that, like you said, you start feeling lighter.
You surge your energy, yeah.
And you start feeling like, I can do this. And so then it gets easier to go longer and longer. But it's important, if you're overwhelmed, just give yourself a small chore to start with. And it really does help.
I brought some things to Goodwill the other day that a
Mhm.
box that I have literally carried around. I've been in this house for 16 years. This box has been in the closet for 16 years. Before that, it was in that house for 2 years. And before that house, it was in that one for 2 years. And before that, it was in another one for 11 years. So I have not used it in all of that time. It was some old wedding gifts that we've been given that I don't even know who they came from. They were little pretty things,
Mhm.
that just didn't ever fit my lifestyle or my style.
Mhm.
And I've been carrying them from house to house. And I said, this is it. It ends right here. I'm not carrying this around. And my husband looked at it and he said, well, you don't want to keep these? And I said, no, I don't. And so we were both happy to go ahead and just let them go. And it felt so good knowing, okay, somebody else will get pleasure out of that. I didn't.
Right.
And in fact, it's been a pain point. It's been, oh, I have to move this again. So it's just really, it's very freeing when you start to do it. It really is. It's very freeing. And knowing that somebody else is going to get pleasure out of that.
Yes, yeah, and there's just some basic questions quickly to ask yourself. Is it something you use regularly? If it's not something you're using regularly, is it something you love? Okay, you might hold on to it. This is your problem. Is it something you're keeping out of obligation? Do you feel like you have to because it was a gift? You know what? You're not obligated anymore. This is your chance to let it go.
And
Sometimes
for a lot of people my age, Gina, we've got stuff from our parents that
yes,
we inherited that, their old china. I don't even use my china, much
exactly.
less their china. Why am I carting around both of it? At
Oh,
least I'm down to one person's china, not two. But yeah, we've got, we had to go through a lot of that stuff too, because we had accumulated a lot of stuff, a little bit from my mom, but a lot from his mom. And
well, and it rolls downhill. Really.
exactly.
I can tell
My son
who.
doesn't want it. He's
Yeah.
already told me. We brought it, we asked him to go through the house and tell us if there was anything that he, that really sang to him. And he picked a few little items that were not that major that, he just, they spoke to
Memory.
him and said something to him.
Right.
It was like when my mother-in-law passed away, he wanted her Coca-Cola glasses because he remembers sitting and talking with her. They're not worth anything, but they had memories attached to them for him. And I think that's the things that we want to hang on to or keep. So I think your rule of, okay, you can pick what you want. If you want that table, great, but you got to pick it up by such and such date.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Not a storage facility. You want it, you need to come get it. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of things I find people keep or have, especially if they're in storage, are things that have been passed down to them and they don't have the heart to say they don't want them. And I will definitely tell you the vast majority of their kids will not want them and they will tell them. So it's a little bit different. I had a lady once who actually had 9 sets of china.
Oh my word.
A lot of times I find there's one sweet one, I guess, in the group, or the most sentimental one of the family. And
Yeah.
everything ends up in her life.
Mhm.
Everything passes down to this woman usually, and also then her husband. And she just doesn't have the heart to say no. But so now they're chugging around, 9 different sets of dishes every time they move. And
Right.
they're just being stored. They've never
They're
brought
not
them out.
used.
And
They're
they're
not
not
used. They're not enjoyed. Yeah.
not even their taste, a lot of times, but they
Yeah.
felt obligated. So, when you declutter, your obligations are over. You really don't have to do that anymore. You need to keep things that mean something to you and that you're going to use on a regular basis. If you aren't using things every 6 months at least, I heard a rule once, if it's something, you can get rid of something without worrying about it. If it's something that you could replace on Amazon for under $20 in 20 minutes, you don't need to be carrying it around with you.
That's so true. That's a good rule of thumb. Yeah. So what kind of mistakes do people make when they're going through this process, Gina?
Well, I would say probably the first mistake people make is they take too long to start this process.
Yeah.
They keep thinking, I'm going to do it, and time slips away. And this is a great time to be working on decluttering a house, because most of us are almost trapped at home anyway. So we can only, be on the internet and the television so long before we start going nuts. So this is a good time to pick a space and start working on it. But I find a lot of people wait too late. One thing, they wait too late until they're not in charge of it anymore, like we said. And that's really a big mistake, because now they're counting on their kids figuring it out. And even the most conscientious kid is not going to do it the way you would have done it. So people tend to wait too long. I think people also don't understand this is a major life transition. And they don't, because I have people tell me all the time, I've moved 10 times during my marriage. This is, it's just moving. It's like, when you're downsizing, it's not just moving.
No, it's not.
It's giving up so many things.
And it really is harder the older you get. I never believed that before, and my husband and I, we've moved 18 times in our married life. We've moved a lot. And I always felt like, man, I had it down pat. But this time it's a lot more. And part of it is we've accumulated stuff from his mom and my mom too, and those have sentimental attachments, but not necessarily stuff that we still need to keep.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, and also people don't think about it. You've moved 10 times in your marriage, but you were a lot younger.
Exactly. Exactly.
Moving and packing are physical things, and they get harder when you get older. One thing we do with clients a lot is we'll give them some one-to-one hours. So maybe I'll have somebody come in and spend 3 or 4 hours with them to work on a closet. Well, the catch here is it's exhausting. So we'll typically put them in a chair or let them be comfortable and then bring things out to them from the closet. Yes. And then you can say, I want to keep this, and then you start putting in your piles. It's going to be friends and family. Is it going to be something I keep? Is it something I donate? Is it something I trash? But let them, make the decision. And even making the decisions constantly is exhausting. Even if you're comfortably in a chair, yes, no, which pile. Doing that for several hours, it's much more tiring than you remember it being. Yes. And typically when you move when you're younger, you're always going somewhere bigger. So you're taking everything you own and just adding to it. You're actually at the end, and now you're doing something you've never done before, which is actually getting rid of so much of that stuff. And so it's a lot harder. It's physically harder and certainly emotionally harder. And people don't understand that, I think, at first, because it's never been like that when they moved before.
Right.
So it's a new thing.
You're exactly right. It is a whole different ball game when you're downsizing and you're making those decisions. And it's like, okay, once I let this go, it's gone. Do I really want to do this? And so you have to really.
And you have to, it's kind of tough love.
Yeah. And it helps to have somebody like you there that looks at it from an outside perspective. You don't have any attachment to any of these things.
Right.
So you're just there kind of as a guide to help me make the decisions that I need to make. And just like you said, holding up the item and saying, so what does this say to you? Does it speak to you? Is it something that you really love? Is it something, tell me what you want to do, what you think. And that, really helps, because people start realizing, you know what, I'm not attached to that thing. And I've been carrying it around because I felt obligated to. And now it's time. And you kind of give them permission to let go of those obligations. And I think that's really important. Yeah.
Well, and you can't, and you have to let yourself do that. Quick little acronym I use for people that are doing this decluttering. It's Ohio. Like the state, only handle it once.
Oh, say that again.
Only handle it once.
Oh, that's a good one.
When you pick up an object, you make that decision on what category it goes into. I'm keeping it, I'm giving it to friends and family, I'm donating it, or I'm selling it. You make that decision and you live with that decision. Because we have gone, I had an employee who was almost crying one time. She spent all day going through a closet with a lady on Friday. On Monday, half of it was back in the closet. So, so if you're ready to get rid of it, go ahead and put it in a bag and take it to Goodwill.
That's
Don't
right.
leave stuff sitting around, but only handle things once. Make your decision. Your decision is final. It was right. Go with your gut. So it was the right decision, and move on. Don't keep redoing it because you're never going to get done.
You're never going to get there. Yeah, I agree. Well, Gina, thanks so much for being on the show. Unfortunately, we're at the end, but I know you have a ton more ideas and information to help people, but you've given us so much today. The key takeaway, I think, is just get started. Just get started. And if you need help doing that, reach out to Gina. See how she can help. I'm going to put your website up here, and I'm going to spell it out, Gina, because this is going to go to a podcast later. So this is G Powell, Powell, at caringtransitions.com. That's caringtransitions.com. caringtransitions.com. I'm going to also put your website up. That's caringtransitionsofmh.com. So the same Caring Transitions as in her email of mh.com. And Gina, again, thanks so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate having you here.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
All right, everybody, the Life After 50 show will be back next week. And as always, we'll bring you guests that help you figure out what you need to do next. Thanks so much for joining us.